right, I am messing with a 2017 R6 right now, which should be the same up until 2020. And I've got a broken peg on the other side. This side's pretty straightforward because you can just take this little cotter pin out, knock the pin out, replace it, no problem here. Really easy. The other side, for whatever reason, Yamaha does as an assembly. So this peg is actually basically permanent into this little bracket, which slides into your rear brake lever. So to take that out, you'd have to pull the whole set off and get to the back probably. You might be able to get a tool in there, but no, probably not. So yeah, you'd have to take this whole thing off. So basically, the easier way to do it probably is just to get rid of this pin. And I'm going to use a grinder to cut off this flared end here, as it's more or less a rivet. So if you knock this top part off, this is a washer underneath it. You can knock this pin out and replace it just like you can on the other side. So I have seen someone use a very thin saw blade and get in here and actually hand saw that pin off, which you can do, I guess, but it's a lot of work and you're gonna end up damaging the inside of the bracket. So I don't really recommend that method. Usually I'm gonna use a cutoff wheel, so it's really thin, but I'm just gonna go really slow and just trim off the top of this and try not to have it grab and kick into the exhaust or anything. All right, just make sure you get that guy flush, and then that pin should tap out really easily. There it goes. There's my washer. Pull it out. And take note of how the spring is sitting. We want to repeat that with putting the new one in. And these cheapy Amazon pegs are, the pins, there's a second set I've used, and the pins are a little too long on this side, but I'm just going to use a washer to take up some of the space. Okay, so looking at the spring, we want to make sure that that spring is resting off to the side on the top of the peg, and then this is going to catch the top of the bracket here. I've coated this with a tiny bit of grease, probably not necessary, but it makes it easier to install and might help prevent any corrosion or anything. And I'll just push the spring down with my thumb to align it with the pin, because it'll want to stay kind of out of the way. If I don't, see how it's interfering, I got to push that down to get that guy in there, and then wiggle it a little bit, it should go all the way through. And then you see it's a little bit long, so I'm going to put a couple washers there so it just can't wiggle all over the place. Give you these little clips. So I'm just going to use my little Nip-X to push that clip down. Like that. That should be seated all the way. And there you go. All right, I got the circlip seated all the way and a couple extra washers to take up the space. Doesn't look too bad. Works properly. You can put your little feeler nuts on here if you want. Something I didn't mention, I ordered another set of pegs for an R6 for a 14, and they were actually a ½ inch longer than these. So I think the correct length here is 3 inches, but for some reason, some of the pegs you find on Amazon or eBay or wherever are actually 3.5. So they're not all exactly the same. So some of them will give you dimensions and some of them won't. I got these on purpose because they were 3 inches, and that's the same as the ones that were on there originally. So get longer if you want, but just FYI. Anyways, back in business.